Hi guys, I want to talk to you today about creating a writing portfolio. So you're going to need a professional writing portfolio if you want to be a professional writer. You will want to give samples of your work to prospective clients and potential employers. The best way to do that is to already have a collection of your writing put together that you can just send to everybody in one batch. And the most convenient, simplest way to put all those pieces together is to have your portfolio together online. So I'm going to talk to you about some of my favorite tips for putting together your writing portfolio. The first thing to think about really is to just keep it simple. You want to introduce yourself on your portfolio. And so a nice thing to have is a brief bio where you talk about the type of writing you do and a little bit about who you are outside of writing. I have another video on my channel that talks about writing a professional bio as a writer. You can look at if you want some more tips on how to write a bio. And then you want to have a few samples of your work. So you should give a little overview of who you are as a writer and the type of work that you do. You'll want to decide what type of writing you do and how you're going to portray yourself. So are you someone who just generally writes and writes a little bit of everything? Or do you focus in on a specific area? And most writers do have some kind of focus, even if it's just that you write for retail clients or you tend to write for consumers. So me personally, I write healthcare copy, and I'll show you my own portfolio in a minute so you can see how I pitch myself. I'm pretty focused. Other writers might focus on sports or entertainment or food writing. Some people might focus on, business to consumer writing or business to business writing or television. So those are things to think about. The more you focus, the fewer jobs you're going to be qualified for, but the more you'll become an expert in those areas and the better you will be able to grasp those jobs in your specialty when they do become available. Links are always great. So if you have samples or pieces that are live on the internet and you can link to them, that gives you authenticity and authority, credibility. It also helps you rank higher in search engine optimization. So when you are searching for your name or for a writer of a certain specialty on the internet, you will come up higher the more you have links on your site. And if you are new to writing or have just started, you may not have published pieces. You might not have samples that people have paid you for. So you can write prospective pieces and use those as some of your samples. So I have students in my college class who will write, say, a pretend press release about an event that actually did happen or an event that likely could happen. And they will just be very clear. They'll include maybe a little blurb before you read the press release that says, this is a prospective press release about a fantasy event, so you can see my skills as a writer. Or to just make it really clear that it's not a real event, or if you're writing a review for a real concert, just make it really clear that I went to this concert, I did write this review, but I wasn't paid to do it. The other thing you can do is you can upload pieces on sites like medium.com, and they let anyone publish anything. And then you just kind of see how the world responds to it. So you can build a fan base if you're on Medium long enough, and you can get followers, and it's a very writer-friendly site. There are publications on there, and that's a whole nother topic. But even if you get no attention for your piece on Medium, it does give you an online live place to link to and help you maybe post that onto your portfolio. So that's another way to go as a newer, younger writer. In my experience, clients are looking for a few things. One, I think they'd love to see a photo of you as the writer who's showing their work. It doesn't have to be a professional photo, so you could just take a picture of yourself against like a pretty simple background, right? Like this, or like a wall outside or in your apartment. And if you can, I would have a friend or somebody else take the picture so it doesn't look like your arms outstretched taking a selfie. And then, I think they just like to see the face associated with the words. And a lot of times as a writer, you're hired just after a phone conversation or a Zoom call with the client. If it's not full time, you might be contracting for a few hours a week or maybe one newsletter every quarter of the year. And so you don't have a lot of interaction face to face with the client, especially with social distancing happening as much as it is right now. So it's nice social lubricant to see your smiling face on the website. It never hurts. And then another really important thing is to have the names of any clients that you have worked for. Any organizations you can align yourself with really give you credibility as a writer. So I think that's one of the first things that other people look for. I have my clients listed on my homepage right below my name and brief bio. If you don't have client names to put up there, don't worry about it, right? You lead with what you have. And if that's not something you have right now, don't sweat it. Just put other things up there to advertise yourself. And then they're going to look for the words that you have written. So you're going to have some samples of your pieces. So those are the three big things that you really want to have on your site. When you put your words up there, frame them as well as you can. So give some context. If possible, tell people how you wrote the story, who it was written for, why it was written. If you wrote it in a certain voice, explain that. If there was a strategy behind that, let people know. Tell us the goals of the piece and how you helped the client reach the goals that they were trying to reach. Sometimes you'll have data to share. As a writer, a lot of times you're not going to have any measurements or data, and that's totally fine. I think on my site, maybe a couple of the pieces have some data, but when you do have numbers to share, excuse me, when you do have numbers for how effective your piece was, definitely share those because it looks really good. So I think I have one that was a newsletter sent out over email, and I have information about how many people opened that newsletter. So if you have information like that, that's really good to share. But again, if you don't have that kind of information, and for a lot of writing, you won't have anything measured, don't sweat it. Just include what you do have. And don't forget a call to action. Let people know how they can get in touch with you. Always include your email or however you prefer people to contact you. Most of the time when folks go to your portfolio, they're gonna already know who you are. This is just like a second check-in or like a last check to make sure that, yeah, we really do like this person. I think as writers, we tend to fantasize that people are poring over the words of everyone who applies to a writing job and really, deciding who they want to hire based on, like, do I like their phrasing? Do I like this sentence? Do I like that person's paragraph structure? But I think they look more at your experience, the degree you have, the last job you worked at, who your references are, and then looking at your actual writing is sort of a last check to make sure, like, okay, yeah, they actually can write. And so once they're at your portfolio, you're at least one of the last couple of candidates, but make it easy on them. So if they do get to your portfolio and they decide, yep, we like them, we want to contact them, make sure your email address is right there so they don't have to rifle through papers or go through their email inbox to hunt you down. Just make sure it's real simple, like, okay, there's the email address. So I'm going to now show you my portfolio. And I think my portfolio, I'm pretty happy with it. I've been working on it on and off for a few years. And, it's not the fanciest, it's not super flashy. It's pretty basic, but I think it has all the information it needs. So I have a little tagline at the top here where I say health-focused writer, editor, and proofreader who specializes in distilling complex information and retelling in a simple, compelling narrative. And what I'm doing here is essentially, in my own words, saying that I am a business-to-business healthcare writer. That's my main gig. That's mostly what I do. And that works for me because I have a PhD that's healthcare focused. And so I do a lot of either complicated healthcare writing, or I do healthcare writing that is involves simplifying complicated healthcare information to a way that people can understand it. And it's not very understandable for consumers in the format that I get it. So that's what I do, and it's a fairly focused market, and so I'm not applying for a wide swath of jobs or reaching out to like a huge market of clients. But when I do reach out to people, I'm pretty successful at landing clients and landing jobs. So there's trade-offs, with marketing yourself to a small swath of people and marketing yourself to a bigger swath of people. There's my smiley, happy photo, approachable. I intentionally dressed casually in the photo that I put up on my site. I didn't want to look corporate or stuffy, although I do have very straight posture. Short bio, and then right after my bio and my photo, my client list. And I've led with the clients who are healthcare focused and are fairly well known in the Seattle area. So these are healthcare clients that people, the first three are healthcare clients that people in the Seattle area should know. And then have a credit for the photo, because that's what you should do. And then my email address is right there. And then I have a logo for the school that I teach at. So the tabs at the top, I have an example of copy I wrote related to COVID-19 because that's topical and trendy, and I think it's good to keep your site updated. Also, that shows that, I'm booking work and I'm in demand enough that I'm getting jobs even in the midst of an economic crisis. And then you can link to this. And what I've done here, I have put a headline and then just a couple of lines from the text, and then I've linked to the actual website where the copy is. And it's just a site that talks about telehealth. And it's always risky linking to a website, a live website for a client, because they change them all the time. And I think the client may have actually changed that one a little bit too. So I may have to change that link. And then the newsletter copy, I'll show you the internal one here. So I have a little blurb where I describe what I did, written in the voice of the chief medical officer, reporting on hospital-wide initiatives, employee accomplishments, and upcoming events. It's pretty standard stuff for internal newsletters. Newsletter has 75% open rate. So that's one of the places where I have a statistic, which is a really good open rate for a newsletter that's sent out over email. They tend to be like well below 50% depending on the field that you're in. So 75% was really good. I'm proud of that. My dorky self is very proud of that number. And then I have a small excerpt from the text, and then you can see a link to the actual newsletter there. And then I have a ghostwritten blog entry. I have some links to my videos. And one of the reasons why I put my YouTube videos up here is because it updates frequently. And on a website, if you can get frequent updates on there, it helps with your search engine ranking. Again, that's why I have like an update section here where I just put like little things that are newsworthy about myself. This section may disappear because I don't know that much happens that's newsworthy about me. And I put a section on miscellaneous writing that's just like essays and things I write that are more creative. And this isn't really like samples of the professional work that I do, but I have had clients who definitely read some of my creative work and really responded to it. And so don't shy away from posting other types of writing on your site, right? I would make sure it's a minority of what you have on your website, but it's definitely helped me get jobs that I wrote, put some of this stuff on here. And mine is on brand, I will say, because I have some of them are about my health struggles personally, and that's part of what got me interested in writing about health. But definitely, I've definitely had examples of clients enjoying some of the personal essays I wrote about health. So yeah, put your creative work on there. And the other thing about that too is that we are complicated and multi-layered as people, and I don't think there's anything wrong with showing that to clients, right? So, as long as it's not anything that would be wildly unprofessional or shocking to the world or super violent or super sexual or um, something that would just shock a client or be just super unprofessional or out of line for the professional world. I think it's good to show that you have layers and that there are other facets of your life. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about writing portfolios. I have other examples of portfolios that I don't have permission to share online, but I'm happy to share privately if anyone wants to email me. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Thanks, guys.